Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and today I want to talk a bit about the upcoming engineers. We know a fair amount about the patch itself, and I'm not going to focus too much on the rest of the patch details in this particular video. I just want to talk about the engineers themselves. What are they? Where can they be found? What do they offer us? And a number of other things as well. Now, the engineers are persistent NPCs. That means they will exist within the game whether you're logged on or not, and they will always be findable in the same locations. They will have their own memories, their own history, and hopefully they will build up their own relationship with you. Patch 2.1 would also feature a lot of other persistent NPCs as well, and most of those will come in the form of mission givers. However, they are likely to be procedurally generated NPCs. The difference with the engineers is that they are going to be unique. They will essentially be handcrafted, and as well as having their own backstory, they will have their own unique specialization. And it's this specialization that engineers are all about. They will enable you to upgrade your ship in a whole variety of ways, from weapons to modules. There was even talk early on about the engineers enabling you to customize your ship in a variety of ways with things like customized laser colors. Now that's something I haven't heard much of since it was previously mentioned, I think by David Braben was the last time I heard it, but hopefully it's still going to be in the game. Now here we have the only so far released example of an engineer. This is Todd the Blaster McQuinn, and unfortunately we don't know a whole lot of information about him. When this image was released in newsletter 113, it did say that they were going to reveal more details in newsletter 114, but of course newsletter 114 was the newsletter that announced the patch delay, and the dev update within that newsletter didn't mention anything about Todd McQuinn at all. But regardless of that, we can summarise a little bit from the picture as well as the guy's name. The middle bit of his name, the Blaster, would suggest that he could perhaps specialise in weapons. And we can see in the background there a little fleur-de-lance. Now, I'm curious as to whether that is the player ship or whether that is just a mock-up. It's been confirmed that for the moment at least, all the NPCs will be just static images, and that animated NPCs will be coming a little bit further down the line. At any rate, astute players quickly noticed the rock formations in the background there of this engineer's hangars, and of course that quickly brought up the subject of this engineer's particular location. Now, Frontier have long confirmed that engineers will only be located on the surface of planets, at least initially, and that therefore means that you will only be able to get access to engineers with the Horizon season. And that of course means that people with only the base game of Elite Dangerous are going to be locked out from many of these ship upgrades. I'm not sure what that means for PvP, but I guess ultimately we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, while we do know that the engineers are down on the surface of planets, we supposedly won't know precisely where they are located, and this is going to be something that players will have to discover. But I suspect that rather quickly a list of locations for these engineers will make its way very fast to the internet. In the end though, I'm not sure just how much that is going to help, because there's always the possibility that some engineers at least could be located in permit locked systems. And on release there will be just 30 engineers located within inhabited space, and that may seem a relatively low number when you consider that inhabited space has around about 100,000 systems. Do correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I do believe that is roughly the correct number. But with 30 engineers within that amount of space, it would suggest that they are very special characters indeed. So we've seen the interior of the engineers' hangars, and the rock formations that I mentioned earlier did indeed seem to pan out to have some bearing on their actual physical location. The concept art here shows the engineers' base being embedded deep within a cliffy rock-type formation. There was mention that the engineers live in complete isolation, but with a base that large it would seem that it would need perhaps a few people here to keep things running, and the base would seem to be at least the size of a regular outpost. But ultimately, these are the places you're going to need to visit when you want to modify your weapons as well as any modules you're using. These modifications will be carried out by the engineer, and they will require materials and loot in order to do that. Now, loot and materials, for the most part, will be located down on the surface of planets. But apparently some of this will also be located in space, although we're not sure how much. Loot will also be located in wrecks. Frontier have confirmed that they're going to add wrecks into the game. Hopefully these will be beyond the scope of the salvageable wrecks we currently have located in space, and will be more along the lines of the big anacondas that we see crash down on some of the planets. It's also been confirmed that missions will also offer loot and materials as rewards, and in some cases that loot may be quite unique. So it's these items that you're going to need to carry along to the engineer, and you'll need to provide them to the engineer before he will be able to do any module or weapon upgrade for you. But it doesn't stop there, because the way the engineer interacts with you, the services he's able to offer, will be greatly determined by the player's stand-in. And this will include things such as the player's rank, as well as their faction alignment. Now, I'm not sure which rank this is actually referring to, whether it's your Imperial or Federal rank, or whether it's your Elite rank. I suspect it most likely is the later. Now, overall, this really is my biggest concern so far with what Engineers is offering us. This all has very much the possibility to turn into a massive grindfest. Now, I'm by no means saying that is 100% going to be the case, but it's just something I'm a little bit concerned about at the moment, because gaining these ranks, gaining these faction stand-ins does take a lot of time, and locking content behind progress within them, well, like I say, that could make things a bit of a grind. But of course, we also have to factor in that just maybe these engineers will all offer every player a basic level of service, and that it will only be their advanced services that are locked behind these requirements. Overall, this element of the new patch, just engineers themselves, has the massive possibility and potential to really change the direction of Elite as a game. I've noticed that Frontier have really stopped using the term crafting now, that initially they were talking about crafting and looting, and now really it's just the engineers, because obviously we're not going to be able to craft modules ourselves, and that's what the implication of the word crafting would actually mean. But nonetheless, the ability to go to characters, to go to engineers and customize our ships to this level would really blow the game wide open in terms of customizability. And I believe it was Mike Evans, one of the developers at Frontier, that said that this was the reason that they had a limited number of modules in the game up until now, because they wanted to allow the true customization for this point in the game. Now, a few years ago, long before the alpha for Elite Dangerous was even released, probably in 2013, the developers were talking about a lot of customization features for the game, including things such as overclocking your ship's modules and weapons. Those of you that have been following Elite long enough may well remember those discussions, but it's something that obviously isn't in the game at the moment, but it's clearly been in the plans for a very long time. And if I remember correctly, upon of those discussions was that overclocking your modules, overclocking your ship in such a way could well come with a number of consequences, including things such as overheating a lot faster or just shortening the lifespan of your ship or your modules. And I really do hope that this plays a huge part into how the engineers actually work, and that ultimately it's not just a case that you get a simple upgrade from an engineer. So it's great to see that these plans, which were spoken about nearly 3 years ago now, are actually making their way into the game, and it really does speak about the long-term viability of Elite Dangerous as a game, because Frontier have spoke about many things over the years, and usually most things they talk about do make their way into the game in one form or another, but it's their implementation which really does often open up heated discussions. But that said, I'm actually really confident that patch 2.1 is going to be a very good thing for Elite Dangerous. Overall, it has a lot of content that I'm very much looking forward to, and in future videos I'll get into detail for some of that other content. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. This is Space Engine, I'm Obsidian Ant, and today we're going to go on a tour through space. Now, Space Engine, for those of you that don't know, is a fully simulated universe. You can go absolutely anywhere within it, any planet, any star, any galaxy, any nebula, literally anywhere you can imagine. The galaxies out there are full of natural wonders, full of beauty. It's absolutely stunning places like these two massive planets here.